The next morning, the entire galaxy was talking about one thing: the human ship Aurora. The rescue on Corinth had been broadcast live on every major network. Billions of beings across hundreds of worlds had seen Mira, Jiro, and Aster fight the storm, save lives, and smile through danger. Some called them reckless. Others called them heroes. But everyone agreed on one thing: they had acted when the Council did not. Now Mira was being called to the Grand Chamber for a formal hearing. She wasn't afraid. She felt calm, ready. She had done the right thing. Thalen, the alien archivist, walked beside her. His gray eyes were gentle. "The Council is divided," he said softly. "Half want to punish you, half want to thank you," Mira smiled. "Then maybe we'll give them something both sides can agree on: the truth." The Grand Chamber was enormous, filled with light from 1,000 worlds. Delegates from every species sat in curved rows, whispering. At the center stood Mira, Jiro, and the glowing sphere of Aster. High Consul Vena presided from her tall seat above. Her face looked calm, but her eyes were tired. "Mira Cade," she began, "you led an unauthorized mission. You violated the Stability Directive. Do you understand the gravity of this?" "Yes, Madam Consul," Mira said clearly. "But I also understand something else: the cost of doing nothing." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Vena raised a hand. "You risked hundreds of lives by ignoring protocol." Mira looked up. "And saved thousands by not waiting." For a long moment the chamber was silent. Vena nodded slightly. "Proceed with your defense." Mira turned toward the audience. "For years humans were called dangerous, too bold, too emotional, too unpredictable. But our courage built this council. Our curiosity connected your worlds, and now, because of fear, we have been told to stop, to stay quiet, to be safe." She stepped closer to the center. "The truth is, safety without action is just another kind of death. We call it slow collapse. You can measure it, in your numbers, your inventions, your dreams." Thalen stepped forward and activated a holographic display. Charts and images filled the air. Rescue rates dropping, new discoveries slowing, colonies waiting too long for help. "Before the directive," Thalen said gently, "the galaxy was alive. After it, progress fell by half. It is not only humans who have grown cautious. All species follow the same pattern when leadership fears risk." Vena leaned forward. "You are suggesting that our laws caused this?" "Yes," Mira said softly. "You took away the right to care with courage." At the edge of the chamber, a counselor stood and shouted, "And what if you had failed? What if the dome collapsed and thousands died? Would you call that courage?" Mira faced him calmly. "I would call it effort. We did everything we could with the time we had. We used skill, knowledge, and heart. If that's failure, then doing nothing must be worse." Even some alien delegates nodded quietly. Aster floated up and began to speak. "Humans are not the only ones who can act with courage. But they are good at it. They balance logic and feeling. They adapt faster than prediction models can calculate. Removing their right to decide quickly removed part of the galaxy's safety net." The AI paused, then added simply, "Safety needs courage." The chamber grew still. Those 3 words hung in the air like light. High Consul Vena studied Mira. "And what do you want from this council?" Mira took a slow breath. "Not forgiveness, understanding. Restore the human emergency license. Let trained crews act without waiting for long approvals during real danger. Let them save lives again, not just humans, anyone." Vena looked down. "And if others abuse it?" "Then teach them," Mira said firmly. "We will help write the rules. Open training for all species. Build trust instead of fear." Jiro stepped forward now, his voice calm but strong. "We're not asking to break laws. We're asking to make them better." The audience screens changed again. This time they showed messages sent from the people of Corinth. Video clips, short notes, even drawings. One message showed the little girl who had waved through the glass. She said shyly, "Thank you, Miss Mira. Because of you, my mama can breathe again." A quiet gasp rippled across the chamber. Thalen whispered, "The galaxy is watching this right now." Vena sat still for a long time. Then she spoke slowly. "When I was young, I served with a human medic on the front lines. He once said, 'Fear is useful only until the fire starts. Then you need someone willing to run in.' I never forgot that." She looked around the chamber. "Perhaps we've been standing too far from the fire." The vote began. One by one, counselors cast their decisions. Green lights for support, red for rejection. At first it was mixed. Then, as more data appeared and more delegates remembered old rescues led by human teams, the green light spread. Finally, Vena raised her hand. By majority decision, the Council restores the human emergency license, not just to humanity, but to any world that completes joint training under human guidance. The chamber erupted in sound. Cheers, applause, even alien warbles of joy. Mira felt tears fill her eyes. Thalen smiled softly. Aster blinked, processing. Directive reversed. Outcome positive. Emotion detected, relief. Jiro clapped Mira on the shoulder. You did it. No, she said, smiling. We all did. Days later, the first joint emergency team was launched, a mix of humans, aliens, and AIs, all trained under the new license. The program was called Project Firelight. On the day of the first launch, Mira stood in the hangar with Jiro and Thalen. Workers moved quickly around them. The hall that was once silent now buzzed with excitement again. This feels like the old days, Jiro said with a grin. Better, Mira replied, because now everyone shares the flame. Aster floated nearby, recording everything. Project Firelight status active. Training requests received from 14 worlds. Thalen adjusted his cloak. The Council's records will remember this day. They'll remember Humanity's Day, Jiro said. Mira smiled. Not just humanity's, everyone's. Outside the hangar, the new rescue ship lifted off. The engines glowed a warm gold instead of harsh blue, a color chosen to honor the Corinth oxygen domes. Across the galaxy, thousands watched the launch broadcast. Children pointed to the screen. Scientists cheered. Even old council officers who once feared humans smiled quietly, remembering what courage looked like. On the station balcony, Vena stood alone, watching the ship rise into the stars. She whispered to herself. The Council's greatest mistake wasn't losing control, it was losing faith. Later that night, Mira sat by a viewport looking at the stars. Jiro brought her a cup of coffee, a rare thing outside Earth, can you believe it? He asked. They listened. Mira smiled softly. They had to. Hope is louder than rules. Aster hovered beside them. May I record a final note? Go ahead, Mira said. The AI's voice turned quiet. Entry. Humanity once feared the Council's silence. Now the Council learns from humanity's noise. The sound of hearts that refuse to give up. End of record. Mira looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, new crews were preparing, training, ready to act when others hesitated. The galaxy had its fire back. And for the first time in many years, Mira truly believed that the future was awake again. The ship Aurora cut through the storm clouds like a silver arrow. Lightning flashed across the windows and thunder rolled through the hull. Jiro kept his hands steady on the controls while Mira read data on the main screen. The oxygen farm on Corinth had only 6 hours left before complete collapse. We can make it, Jiro said, his voice calm but tight. Aster floated near the dashboard, its blue light steady. Trajectory locked. Fuel levels at 71%. Warning. Turbulence probability very high. Mira smiled faintly. Then it's just another normal day for humans. Jiro laughed softly. If this is normal, then we're all crazy. Outside, a massive bolt of plasma struck nearby and the ship jolted hard. Warning lights flashed red. Mira grabbed the rail, her knuckles white. But Jiro only adjusted a few dials and continued flying. His eyes were calm, focused, like a man dancing with danger and calling it rhythm. Remind me, Mira said. Why did you volunteer for the rescue corps? Jiro's eyes stayed on the storm. Because we don't wait for permission to care. In the council chamber, High Consul Vena stood before a wall of screens showing the Aurora's flight path. The human ship had already entered the restricted zone around Corinth. The entire council murmured in alarm. They're defying direct orders, one member said. They'll cause a disaster, shouted another. Vena raised her hand, silencing them. Let's see what they think they're proving, she said coldly. Deep down, though, something in her chest felt uneasy. A small echo of old admiration. Long ago, she had served beside human medics during the wars. She remembered their courage. She remembered their laughter in hopeless places. But fear had ruled the council for too long. Back in the cockpit, Aster's sensors picked up a new signal. Council patrol cruiser approaching from behind, it said. They have activated boarding protocol, Mira frowned. They're going to stop us. We're faster, Jiro said. Barely. Aster projected 2 glowing paths on the screen. One safe and slow, one risky but fast through a lightning corridor. The safe route arrives 2 hours late, Aster said. The risky route has a 52% chance of success. Mira looked at Jiro. That's our path. He grinned. HFY, right? Exactly. They turned the ship into the lightning corridor. Blue fire streaked past them. Electric arcs danced along the hull. Aster's voice counted each shock as data. Energy strike absorbed. Hull integrity, stable. Pilot heart rate, high. Yeah, Jiro muttered. Try flying through an angry god. When they finally broke through the last layer of cloud, the surface of Corinth appeared below them. Golden domes spread across black desert, each glowing weakly in the stormlight. The largest dome flickered. That was the oxygen farm. Status? Mira asked. Aster displayed readings. Main oxygen regulator offline. Backup systems failing. Estimated total collapse 4 hours, Mira nodded. Then we have to fix it ourselves. They landed beside the largest dome. The storm screamed outside. Mira and Jiro stepped out in heavy suits while Aster hovered above them, its light scanning the damage. Inside the dome, engineers and workers looked surprised and relieved to see humans. Their local command unit blinked. You came? The council said, wait for assistance. Waiting kills, Mira said. Let's move. She gathered the team quickly. Show me the regulator core. They rushed to the machinery room. The giant oxygen stabilizer was shaking, its panels glowing red. Aster scanned the readings. The core valve is cracked. The council supply ships carry replacements. You do not. Jiro looked around and spotted an old water scrubber. This will do. Different system, same principle. Mira grinned. Improvisation, the heart of humanity. They worked fast. Jiro stripped cables and reconnected them. Sparks flew. Aster floated closer, analyzing every motion. The alien engineers watched with wide eyes. Humans worked with strange calm inside chaos, no panic, just focus. After 40 minutes, Aster beeped. Pressure rising. Oxygen output at 60%, increasing. Cheers filled the dome. One small child waved at Mira, smiling through the glass. Mira lifted her gloved hand and waved back. You see? She said softly. This is why we do it. But just as they were stabilizing the core, a sharp tone filled their comms. The Council patrol cruiser had arrived. This is Council Patrol 1, a voice ordered. Human vessel Aurora, cease all unauthorized operations. You are in violation of the Stability Directive. Mira opened the channel. This is Mira Cade. We are saving hundreds of lives. The directive can't wait while people suffocate. Cease activity immediately. The voice repeated. You are endangering property and reputation. Reputation? Jiro muttered. They really said that? Mira sighed. Ignore them. Keep working, Aster spoke quietly. They are preparing to override our systems remotely. Mira took a breath. Then we show them the truth. She opened a live broadcast channel. Every council member could now see the feed. The cracked regulator, the scared workers, the humans patching leaks in a storm. High Consul Vena, Mira said calmly into the camera. This is not rebellion. This is responsibility. You said the directive was meant to protect life. That's what we're doing right now. The chamber on the council's capital went silent. Vena stared at the live feed. The child waving at Mira appeared on screen, her tiny hand pressed to the glass. Vena's throat tightened. On Corinth, time raced. The final pressure test began. Aster's voice stayed steady. 3 minutes to complete stabilization. Then, without warning, a blast rocked the dome. One of the side supports had broken from the strain. Jiro stumbled but caught himself. Hull breach in Section 9, he shouted. Aster calculated instantly. Recommend evacuation. Mira shook her head. We can seal it manually. She and Jiro ran to the section, pulling emergency seals from the wall. Wind howled through the crack. Dust and light filled the air. Jiro jammed the seal plate into place while Mira locked it down with magnetic clamps. Seal holding, Aster called. Pressure normalizing. The noise slowly died. The lights turned green. Oxygen flow steady. Everyone in the dome started clapping and shouting with joy. Mira sank to her knees, breathing hard, smiling behind her helmet. We did it, Jiro leaned beside her. We proved it. Aster's lights pulsed softly. Mission success. Probability upgraded to 100%. Back in the council chamber, silence filled the room. The broadcast still showed the humans, their suits covered in dust, standing among grateful workers. Vena slowly sat back in her chair. They broke the rule, one counselor whispered. Yes, Vena said quietly. And they saved an entire colony, another counselor frowned. They got lucky, Vena shook her head. No, they acted. And we forgot how, the chamber murmured. Old debates reignited. Some still wanted to punish Mira. Others saw what she saw, that without human drive, the galaxy was drifting toward stillness. On Corinth, Mira stood outside watching the golden domes glow stronger again. She touched the communicator on her wrist. Thalen, she said, are you seeing this? The alien archivist's calm voice came through. Yes, and the council is already in shock. You've started something. Good, she said softly. Then maybe they'll finally remember what we bring to the stars. Jiro joined her, holding his helmet under his arm. Think they'll forgive us? Maybe, she said with a smile. But even if they don't, they'll have to admit we were right. Above them, the clouds began to clear. Sunlight broke through for the first time in days, falling across the repaired domes and the human ship standing proud beside them. Aster floated next to Mira. Mission data stored. Title suggestion, Proof of Life. Mira smiled. Perfect. The broadcast signal was still active. Across hundreds of planets, people, alien and human, watched the moment. They saw courage, teamwork, and compassion, not chaos. And somewhere deep inside, even High Consul Vena felt a small spark of something she had not felt in years. Pride in humanity. End of Part 2. Would you like me to continue with Part 3, final part? 1,000 words next. Were the council hearing? Mira Cade stood in the wide glass hall of the galactic station. Outside, the planet below burned with orange storms that twisted like living fire. She remembered when this hall used to echo with running feet and loud voices. Rescue teams once raced through here, arguing and laughing as they prepared for danger. Now it was silent. Everyone waited for permission before doing anything. The council's new stability directive had changed everything. They said it would bring peace and order. No more risky missions, no more human chaos. But what Mira saw was something different. A galaxy that had stopped moving. Captain Jiro Tan leaned on the rail beside her. He was tall, calm, and always polite, but she could see the anger hiding in his eyes. Down on the storm planet, a survey pod had crashed. The survivors had only a few hours of air left. Old Jiro would already be in his ship, diving through lightning to bring them home. Now he was waiting for a council code that might never come. Still no launch approval? Mira asked quietly. Still waiting, Jiro said. They want to run a full risk model. Takes 8 hours. The pod's beacon says they have 6. Mira shook her head. That's not safety, she said. That's surrender. Above them, a soft blue light blinked and a broadcast signal. Every screen on the station flickered to show the calm silver face of High Consul Vena, leader of the council. Citizens of the galaxy, Vena said. The stability directive is for your protection. Exploration is valuable, but we must prevent unnecessary loss. Let us build a future without fear, without rash action. People in the hall stopped to listen. Some nodded. Others looked tired. Mira felt a cold weight in her chest. She whispered to herself, They call it peace, but it feels like sleep. A small holographic sphere floated near her shoulder. It was Unit Aster, a learning AI assigned to assist her. Its voice was gentle and curious. Mira, your heart rate is rising. Are you angry? I'm worried, she said. Do you know what HFY means, Aster? I have partial data, the AI said. Human phrase humanity FY, meaning unclear. It means humans are amazing. It started as a joke, but it became something real. It's about courage, doing what's right even when you're scared. That's what they're taking away. Before Aster could answer, a private message appeared on Mira's wrist screen. It was from Archivist Thalen, an alien historian and one of her few friends in the council archives. Mira, I found something strange. Since the directive started, galaxy-wide innovation has dropped 42%. Search and rescue success down 37%. Every world feels... Quiet, call me. Mira read the numbers twice. If the data was true, the council's law was killing more than it saved. She hurried to the archive level. Thalen waited in a room full of crystal files. He was tall and gray-skinned with soft silver eyes that never blinked. He smiled when he saw her. "I knew you'd come. You always chase the spark." "What did you find?" she asked. Thalen tapped a glowing panel. The council didn't only limit exploration. They removed a special clause, the human emergency license. It once allowed humans to act without waiting for orders when lives were at risk. Mira frowned. That clause saved half the colonies during the plague storms. Thalen nodded. They called it a loophole. They said humans were too bold too fast. They erased it quietly last cycle. The news hit her like a punch. So they took away the one thing that made us useful. Thalen looked at her kindly. "Not useful, Mira. Unique. Humans bring movement. Without you, the galaxy grows careful, then slow, then still." An alarm tone echoed through the archive. A faint pulse that made their blood run cold. A distress signal. Aster appeared again, lights flickering. "New emergency detected. Oxygen farm on Corinth is failing. Estimated total collapse in 8 hours. Standard rescue arrival time 12. Mira stared at Thalen. "This is exactly the kind of problem the old license was for." Thalen sighed. "The directive forbids unauthorized launch. If you act, they'll charge you with reckless intervention." "Reckless?" Mira whispered. "They call saving lives reckless now?" Jiro joined them, his face pale from the glow of warning lights. He didn't need to ask what was happening. He'd already heard. He just said, "When do we leave?" Mira hesitated. The council had frozen Earth's permissions. One wrong move and humanity could be locked out of interstellar work forever. But she also saw the image on the monitor. Hundreds of workers on Corinth gasping for air as their domes failed. She took a deep breath. "If the directive won't protect them, we will." Thalen looked torn between fear and admiration. "I'll cover your signal in the archives," he said softly. "I can delay any official trace for 2 hours." Aster's sphere pulsed brighter. "I calculate success probability at 48% if we leave now. If we wait 12%. Then 48 is good enough," Jiro said. He smiled. A small human smile that meant we're alive, so let's act. They ran through the corridors toward the docking bay. Mira's steps echoed against the polished floor. The same hallway that had been silent for so long. Now for the first time in months it sounded like life again. As they reached the ship, the comm system crackled. A sharp official voice spoke through the speakers. "Attention, human vessel Aurora. You are not authorized to launch. Stand down or face administrative review." Jiro didn't even look at the speaker. He strapped in. "Administrative review can wait. Oxygen can't." Mira sat beside him and turned to Aster. "Record everything. We'll show them this isn't chaos. It's care." Engines flared. The ship lifted off the platform, light blooming against the glass windows of the silent hall. Workers stopped and stared. For a heartbeat, it felt like the old days, like humans were still allowed to do what they did best, try, even when it was hard. Thalen watched from the archive balcony, hands folded. He whispered to himself, "This is the moment history moves again." Far above the storm planet, the Aurora angled toward Corinth. Lightning crawled along the clouds. Inside the cockpit, Aster counted time in calm, steady tones. Jiro flew through turbulence like it was an old friend. Mira checked readings, her voice clear and calm. Below them, the distress beacon flickered, then went dark. Mira's breath caught. "They've lost power." Jiro pushed the engines harder. "We'll reach them in 5 hours." But the ship's sensors flashed a warning. A Council patrol cruiser was rising from orbit, its signal beacon shining bright. An order to halt. Mira closed her eyes for 1 second. Then she opened them again. "Stay on course," she said. "They'll understand when they see what we're doing." "Or they won't," Jiro muttered. "And that'll be their mistake." As the stars stretched ahead, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. For centuries, humans had been the spark, the ones who ran toward danger when others froze. Now one woman, one pilot, one curious AI, and one alien archivist were trying to bring that spark back. Back on the station, Thalen watched the council screens update with alarms about the unauthorized mission. He whispered again softly, "May your boldness wake us all."